When you can read a fantasy book set in a fake world filled with fake characters and events that's still able to remind you of the goodness and the providence and the mercy and grace of God, my very real loving Savior, what more could you ask for? Hi everybody, it's Emily from Trader Heart. I'm so glad you're joining me today. We're going to do the mid-year tag. I was invited to do this by Amber from Amber's Bars and Books. Her thoughtful consideration gave me the opportunity to reflect on this past 6 months of reading. I haven't done anything like this before, so I actually enjoyed my time, and I'll go ahead and share with you what I came up with. First question, best book I've read so far. That would be Dream of Kings by Sharon Hink. This is a Christian fantasy, and it's about our girl, Jalan. She's a dream teller. She is betrayed by a countryman and sold as a slave to an enemy nation. And there she is given a dream foretelling of major catastrophe, and she must make a decision that could cost her a lot. Cost her many things. Her love, her calling, her freedom, and she must decide whether or not she should help the enemy nation or risk it all to go back home and save the people who betrayed her. And I don't know if it sounds familiar, but it's inspired by Joseph. This is the only 5-star I've had this year. I listened to it and read it. It was so good that when I couldn't listen to it, I wanted to read it. And when I could have read it, I wanted to listen to it. It's just the narration, the story, the characters, the romance, the allegory. It was all... It's severely underrated. Let me just see. Only 270 ratings. That's a crime. Hopefully we can remedy it. If it sounded at all interesting, if Joseph's story is inspiring to you and you want to hear it from a fantastical angle, please check this out. It's a great read. Second question. Best sequel I've read so far in 2026. This would be another Christian fantasy. I've never had a better year for Christian fantasy. It's The Immortal Abyss, part of the Threshold duology. This was actually book 2 by Catherine Briggs. And book 1 is good. It's Asian inspired, but book 2, it took the cake. We follow totally different characters from book 1, so it might as well be a separate standalone. But it's best enjoyed after reading the first book. You get a bit more context. I was just so impressed with this story and this heroine. We follow Tal, and she is mistaken as this chosen one of a deity because of her exceptional abilities to manipulate fire. And as people kind of idolize and worship her, and she struggles to meet their expectations and fulfill this prophecy, she finds God along the way, and it's beautiful. The heroine, she's got such energy, passion, and she's driven, loyal, strong, but not to the point that she can't use help. She's not overpowered. She's not a Mary Sue. She's so well written, and she's a perfect part of this story. This story was written just for her by Catherine, and the first book sets the scene so that you can enjoy Immortal Abyss. Another underrated book, only 122 ratings on Goodreads. Guys, I don't know what to say. It's something that I encourage everyone to try out. If the first book is only just okay for you, give the second book a go, and you'll be wowed. Third question, new release. I haven't read yet, but I want to. That would be The Last Wayfinder by Ellen McGinty. I read Saints and Monsters by her. I really liked that book. And this newer book, it's related but separate. We follow a woman whose sister is cursed. She strikes up a deal with this officer in order to save her sister. It involves romance, all these major consequences of if she fails, all the drama. And rereading the synopses just now, I'm going to have to bump it up with my TBR. I forgot how good it sounded, but it's Asian inspired, and Ellen McGinty is a Christian, so I'm sure there might be some kind of allegory. If not, it's still a great read. I anticipate it being so. Okay, fourth question, most anticipated release for the second half of the year. That'd be The Fires of December by Brandon Sanderson. It's in the same series of standalones that has Tress of the Emerald Sea, Yumi the Nightmare Painter. I'll go ahead and read the synopsis. In a forgotten land, sustained by colorful rivers of demon blood, a young woman named December learns a devastating plague is on its way, but who will believe her? Against impossible odds, she sets sail up the River Violet to warn the king's court. Determination and wisdom beyond her years burning in her eyes. Along the way, she'll navigate incredulous royal officials, twisted court intrigue, and a roguish count with only her wits and her new friends, a talkative priestess, and a fledgling fashion designer. Ooh la la. It's me, I'm the fashion designer. I used to want to be one when I was younger. If you see the cover, it's a little taste of the magic that Brandon will bring us. I like Tress. I didn't much care for Yumi the Nightmare Painter, but Brandon usually writes some winners, so I'm confident that this will be good for me too. 5, biggest disappointment. Well, I mentioned this in my reading wrap-up for May. That would be Stars May Fall, Book 2, and The Stars May Burn duology by Alice Ivinya. So book 1 was almost 5 stars. I went into book 2 expecting a 5-star read, and I didn't quite get that. I mean, how else do you define disappointment without getting your hopes up and them getting dashed? If I went into it expecting a 5-star read without having read a book that gave me the confidence that this would be a 5-star read, I feel like it'd be different. The evidence was there. I had past experience. I went in deep with this hope and expectation, and it was dashed. It's not a horrible book. It's just not what I wanted. Oh well. Okay, 6, biggest surprise. That would be Legendary Ink by Kate Stradling. I was not expecting to enjoy a book more thoroughly than when I read Legendary Ink. It was a good surprise. It was a happy surprise, and it set me off on the adventure that was reading everything Kate Stradling has ever written. Which leads us to number 7, favorite new author, Kate Stradling. I was reading my history, and I was like, oh, I read Legendary Ink for the first time this year. This was the year I was enlightened by the talents of Kate Stradling. And this will always be a special year because of it. I'm practically interested in everything she's written, except for maybe like one trilogy. But she has so many standalones, she has so many series, she has so many novellas. I'll be here for a while reading the good stuff. She's more of an author that I'm going to go to when I'm in a rut. So I know I can get out of it pretty quickly with her, because nearly everything I've read from her has been a banger. No exaggeration. Okay, so 8 is newest fictional crush. I'm married, so I don't do crushes. I'm going to say newest character that I admire, and that would be Briar from The Cursed Painter by Jordan Revitt. I mentioned her as well in my May reading wrap-up. She's authentic, she's creative, driven, she wants to do better, she's pursuing justice, she wants to protect the people around her from her family the ones that she knows causes hurt and pain. It takes a lot of courage to stand up to people that you once held in high esteem, people who you're related to, that you might even still love. And I admire her for it. She's a pretty cool cat. Okay, 10, book that made you cry. I want to keep my answers from being repetitive, but this is the only book that has at least caused me to become emotional. I didn't outright cry, but I watered up. And that would be The Dream of Kings by Sharon Hink. And that was because of the phenomenal allegory. When you can read a fantasy book set in a fake world filled with fake characters and events that's still able to remind you of the goodness and the providence and the mercy and grace of God, my very real loving Savior, what more could you ask for? I would often pause listening, pause reading, just to sit and ponder at God and His goodness because of this book. It was so well written that it captured the essence of my Savior, my God. That's what a 5-star book ought to do. Question 11, a book that made you happy. That would be Fierce Heart, book 1 of the Elven Alliance by Tara Grace. That was so fun. I breezed through that one. It was action-packed. We had our romance. It was a popcorn read. And typically books that I want to get through quickly because it's such a page-turner are relatively lighthearted. So you can't help but feel good for having read it. I guess I'll give a brief synopsis. For those who don't know, Essie is a human who enters into a political marriage with an elven prince. And the elven prince is very powerful, and he's known for his capabilities on the battlefield. And so when she's like bubbly and happy, so when their personalities clash and she moves to their world and they get to know each other better, and then there's conflict between another nation that's attempting to conquer them, and then the inner turmoil between elves and humans that have been going on for decades and how they must overcome that. That's just book 1 of 7 or 8. So there's a lot of adventure to be had in this series. Question 12, favorite book to movie adaptation you saw this year? I can't keep track of all the things I've seen. I don't really watch that many movies anymore, but just to add a bit of a variation on this question so that I can actually answer it, I'm going to say book 2 anime adaptation, and I am planning on watching Anne Shirley, which is based on Anne of Green Gables, and this was recommended to me by Victoria from Hot Cocoa and Books. When I was growing up, I watched the Canadian TV movies of Anne of Green Gables, so there's a fondness I have for Anne. I read book 1. I know there's like 5 other books. I haven't gotten to them yet, but I know the story well enough that I would enjoy the adaptation for the anime. So while I have Crunchyroll for the next few months, I'm going to give it a go. I'm sure I'll like it. It's a great story. So long as they stay true to the books, then I'm sure it'll be enjoyable. I mean, Victoria recommends it, so it's got to be good. Okay, so 13 favorite review you've written this year. That would be probably for a DNF. The book Blood Witch, which is book 3 of The Witchlands by Susan Dennard. I featured this book in my Unhull video. I didn't much talk about my DNF review. I'll go ahead and show it to you guys. I kind of ripped it a new one. It was disappointing. It wasn't disappointing enough for me to consider it the biggest disappointment so far of the year, like the other book I mentioned. But I was invested in the series, and then the author went ahead and did that. And so I was kind of petty, but in a funny way, when I complained about why I DNF'd it. I quoted passages of the book using alternating lowercase and uppercase letters. Like when you talk like, and so like this, that's kind of like what it would represent, if that makes any sense. But I wanted to just show how ridiculous it was, and that was the best way I could do it. I was really dramatic, and I put everything I had, all my special sarcasm skills, into this review. It's kind of funny. I had fun writing it. It took more time than it should have, but it's there now out in the world for everyone to see. Have fun. Okay, 14 most beautiful book you bought so far this year. I don't buy books for aesthetics. I buy books out of convenience. So if it's there and if it's cheap enough, I'll buy it. Because usually I can get it at the library, or if Kindle Unlimited offers a deal, I can get it on Kindle Unlimited. There's very few books that I need to buy. I wanted to save as much money as possible. I'm kind of cheap like that. I want to save my money for special important things. So that's what I do, and it's gratifying to find a book for a good price. But to answer the question, I'm going to go with Big Pig. So, fun fact, this is actually my autobiography. Just kidding. It's written by Dennis Nolan. And when I saw this at my library sale, I thought it was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. And reading it, it just made me laugh. Thick chick. Sloppy go copy. And then, we've got this. What's more beautiful than the joy of laughter? That's a hidden gem, okay? If you ever see this book in the wild, please pick it up. And whenever you have a bad day, read it. Your day will improve significantly after you get through it. It's gold. It's beautiful. Okay, final question. What books do you need to read by the end of the year? So I've got 2 more 2026 releases that I'm very excited to read. I didn't mention in the other question. That would be Yes, Your Serpentine Excellency by Kate Stradling. Lindsay from Books for Christian Girls gave it 6 stars. And I found that my ratings for books are always like 1 or 2 stars higher than Lindsay's. So if she thought that was a 6-star book, this might be a 10-star for me. Cha-ching, yes. So, Kate Stradling wrote it. What'd he expect? And then I've got Behind Five Willows by Junher. This is her Korean historical romance inspired by Jane Austen. And I just saw that my library got the ebook. So I don't know how long the line or the queue is for it, but I'm going to stick my name in there and get in on that. I'm kind of nervous about it, actually. The last book Junher wrote, Crane Among Wolves, that was a DNF for me. And that's really sad to think about, because she was one of my favorite authors until I read that book, because every book up until then was, the first 2 books I read were 5-star. And then the third book was a 4-star. And then I DNF'd that book. And I was like, what's going on? Who is Junher becoming? Hopefully we're not going to get too political with this book, and it's just her Red Palace style writing skills, and I can enjoy her stuff again. We'll see. I'll let you know in a reading wrap-up eventually, hopefully this year. If you have any answers of your own for these questions, drop them in the comments, make your own video, whatever you want to do. Let's talk about books. I'd like to hear from you. I hope you have a wonderful day. I'll see you later. Bye.